I want to tell you something that I wish every midlife man and woman could hear. Normal labs do not always mean normal function, and in range doesn't always mean optimal. On today's round, we're talking about what happens when your labs say you're fine, but your body, your energy, your marriage, your recovery, and even your golf game are telling you a completely different story. Welcome to Playing for Life, the podcast where golf, hormones, and midlife performance are finally in the same conversation. I'm Dr. Amy Garza, a midlife hormone expert, aspiring competitive golfer, and someone who believes better performance starts from the inside out. On this show, we connect what's happening in your body to how you show up on and off the course. It's about building a body that lets you live better, play better, and stay in the game longer. Because midlife's not where you stop playing, it's where you learn how to play for life. Let's tee it up. Today, I want to talk about one of the most frustrating things I hear from patients all the time. And honestly, if you've ever been in this situation, you know exactly how defeating it can feel. You know something's off. You're tired, but it's not just a sleepy tired. You're not recovering the way you used to. Your mood is weird. Your patience is thin. Your motivation is gone. Your sex drive is different. Your sleep is broken. Not even your workouts are working the way they used to. And then there's your golf game. It just feels, well, different. It feels like your body is no longer doing what it's always done, like you're being betrayed by your own body. So you do what you're supposed to do, right? When your body feels off. You finally make the call, make the appointment, and go and see your doctor. You explain that something's changed. And then, when it's all said and done, you simply get a call, or more likely a portal message that says everything looks normal. Or worse, that you come back in and you're sitting across from someone, and all they have to tell you is that, well, your labs are fine. This is probably stress and part of getting older. Or maybe you're like some of my female patients who, and I'm not making this up, they were told by their doctor to just have a glass of wine and relax. It's all going to be fine. Welcome to midlife. I mean, it's absolute bonkers and it just makes my head want to explode. I want to tell you something that I wish every midlife man and woman could hear. Normal labs do not always mean normal function, and in range doesn't always mean optimal. I think it's one of the reasons so many people suffer longer than they need to. Because what we've been taught to believe is that if your lab says it's normal, we should stop asking questions. But what if your body is still asking the question? What if your game is asking the question? What if your sleep, your libido, your recovery, your energy, your mood, your focus, and your body composition are all saying, hey, something's happening here? They're still asking the questions. But the only thing anyone is looking at is whether the number landed inside a really broad reference range. Now, before we go any further, a quick note because I am a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. This episode is for education only. Use it to have a smarter conversation with your own clinician. So let's dig in and talk about labs because I love labs. I really, really do. I order a lot of labs. I believe they matter and I believe data matters. I believe objective information matters. But I also believe we have made a really big mistake in medicine when we let labs become the whole story. They're not the whole story, they're one piece of the story. To understand what I mean by that, I need to tell you something most people don't know about how lab ranges actually get made. And I promise I'm not going to go deep into statistics or anything like that. I'll keep it simple because once you understand this, you'll likely never look at a lab result the same way again. Okay, here's how it works. A lab takes a big group of people they consider healthy. They measure whatever the test is, whether that's testosterone or thyroid or vitamin D. They'll throw out the top 2.5% and the bottom 2.5%. And whatever's left in the middle, well, they'll call that the normal range. Now, good labs try and separate that by age and sex. So they'll have one range for men under 40, a different one for women over 60, and so on. And that helps some. But even with those groups, the spread is still really wide. The reference range is built on a big, diverse population of people who all get bucketed together because they share a couple of demographic traits. That's it. Sit with this for a second. By definition, 5% of perfectly healthy people will have a lab value labeled abnormal, not because anything is wrong, but just because that's how the maths. 5% of healthy people fall outside the normal. So when you run a panel of 20 lab tests on a completely healthy person, there's an over 60% chance that at least one of them will be flagged as abnormal, just by chance. It's not a flaw in the system, it's just how reference ranges work. It just means that being flagged abnormal might be a big deal and it might not be. So the flip side is true, which is the part I really want you to understand. Being in range doesn't guarantee good news either. And since most of us are golfers, I want you to think about this in terms of swing speed. I love this analogy because I think it captures the whole problem. Imagine we measured swing speed the way we measure hormones. We take a big group of golfers, measure everyone's clubhead speed, throw out the top 2.5% and the bottom 2.5%, and call whatever's left the normal range. So let's say that comes out to 70 to 110 miles per hour. Like I said, a good lap tries to break that down further. So maybe there's a separate range for men under 40 and a different one for women over 60. It helps a little. But even within those groups, the spread is still really wide. So if I tell you your swing speed is 84 miles an hour and the normal range is 70 to 110, all that tells you is that you're not in an extreme tail of a really diverse group of people. It doesn't tell you what your swing speed was 5 years ago. It doesn't tell you what your swing speed should be for your body, your build, your training. It doesn't tell you whether a drop from 105 to 84 means something's going on. That's exactly how lab ranges work. Your testosterone might be in the normal range, but the reference population is a huge mixed group of people, and a lot of those people are not feeling great. Many of them don't sleep, don't lift, drink too much, are insulin resistant, are stressed out of their minds, and are accepting low energy as just life. That's the population your lab is comparing you to. So when someone tells you your testosterone is normal, what they're really saying is your number falls somewhere in the middle of a group of mostly tired, mostly underfunctioning midlife people. Congratulations. It's not the same as saying it's a good number for you. Normal in this case simply means common, and common is not the same as healthy, optimal, or acceptable for the way you want to live. Right now in this culture, in this season of life, a lot of things are common that absolutely should not be normalized. Poor sleep, insulin resistance, low muscle mass, brain fog, low sex drive, weight gain in midlife. None of those things are good. They're just common. And reference ranges are built on populations where those things are everywhere. So when your lab says normal, all that really means is you're not at the far edges of a fairly unwell population. That's it. That's all it tells you. Awesome. Now, here's the part that makes this even more interesting. Your body actually has its own personal range, and it's much tighter than the lab's range. Think about your swing speed again. Your swing speed doesn't bounce around from, say, 70 to 110 day to day. You don't show up to the range one Tuesday at 75 and then show up Saturday at 108. It's not how it works. Your swing speed varies by a few miles an hour from day to day, depending on whether you've warmed up, how you slept, what you ate, whether you're tight, whatever. That's the real range, though. The 70 to 110 thing, that's a population number. Your number lives in a much smaller window. Let's go back to that example. If you used to swing 105 and now you're swinging 84, that's still in the normal range, but that's a 20% drop. The lab range cannot see that, but your body knows. Your body knows because that kind of changes impact everything. Your distance, your ball flight, your ability to compete with your buddies, your confidence over the ball, everything has shifted. And the reference range never moved an inch. It's exactly what's happening with hormones in midlife. Your testosterone level might be in range, but if you used to feel like a different person, if you used to recover faster, if you used to want sex, used to focus through a whole back nine, you used to bounce back from a hard week without needing 4 days of sleep, if you used to have drive and energy and confidence, and now you don't, then your number, even if it's technically in range, may have dropped a lot from where it used to be. The lab can't see that. Only your history can. This is the thing I want every midlife person to walk away with. The reference range tells you where most people land. It doesn't tell you where you should land. The best way to use lab work is not to compare yourself to a population of strangers. It's to compare yourself to yourself. That's where the real signal is. I have a phrase I want you to hold on to today. The range is not the target. In golf, the entire hole is not the target. You don't aim for the hole, you aim for a specific spot. Maybe it's the front edge of the green because there's water long. Maybe it's the right side because there's a tucked pin and you're playing a smart miss. Lord knows you don't want to short side yourself. Maybe it's a fat part of the green because you don't have a great look at the flag. The target is specific. It depends on the shot, the lie, the wind, your club, your ability, your dispersion, the trouble around the green, and what you're trying to do. You might be technically in play and still not be where you need to be. You can be on the green and still be 60 feet away with a putt over the ridge. Technically on the green, practically, you're cooked. That's how I want you to think about reference ranges. Being in range may tell us you're not wildly outside the population. It does not tell us where your body actually functions best. It does not tell us you can recover. It doesn't tell us you can focus on the back nine. It doesn't tell us your libido is intact. It doesn't tell us if you feel like yourself. Now, let me give you one more piece of this puzzle that golfers are going to love because it explains something that drives patients crazy. If you've ever been on a launch monitor, you know they don't all read the same. You'll hit a 7-iron on a TrackMan. It tells you the carry was 162. Same swing, a different launch monitor, and you might say 158. Maybe it says 161. Different machines, different sensors, different math under the hood. Same ball, same swing, slightly different numbers. The trends are usually the same, but the absolute numbers shift depending on what brand you're using. Labs are exactly the same. There are different lab companies, different machines, different antibodies, different calibration, CPL, LabCorp, Quest, specialty labs. They may not be running the exact same test. They may call it the same thing on the report, but the actual measurement is a little different from one to the next. And the reference ranges are different too. So a number that's flagged low at one lab might be flagged in range at another. That matters for two reasons. One, when we're tracking you over time, I want you to use the same lab and the same platform whenever possible. Because I want you to know that the change where you're looking at is the change in you, not a change in the machine. Same way a Tour Pro doesn't bounce between launch monitors. You want consistent measurement so the trend is real. And two, just because one lab company says you're in range doesn't mean another lab company would say the same thing. Don't let one lab result, one platform on one day become the final word on your physiology. It's a snapshot, and snapshots can lie. So here's what I want you to take from today: the range is not the target. Normal does not always mean optimal, and common doesn't always mean healthy. The reference range tells you where most people land. It does not tell you where you should land. Your body has its own personal range, and it's much tighter than the labs. Compare yourself to yourself, not a population of strangers. And don't let one snapshot on one platform on one day become the final word on your physiology. This is where collection of lots of different lab markers matter over time. Now, in the next episode, we're going to take all of this and put it to work in real life. Because it's one thing to understand how reference ranges fail you in theory. It's another thing to know what to actually do when you walk into your doctor's office when your labs come back normal, or when you're in a relationship where one of you is feeling great and the other is falling apart. Or when you're a woman in her 40s being told you can't be in perimenopause because your periods are still regular. We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk about how to have a better conversation with your doctor. And we're going to talk about why optimal for you is a very different conversation than labs that are normal. I don't want you to miss it. And if something in today's episode hit the sweet spot, do me a favor. Follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And share it with a golfer who's been told everything is normal, but still knows something is off. And drop a comment and tell me what landed, what you've been told was normal, or what you want me to dig into on a future round. Your questions shape where the show goes next. Here's to living better and playing longer. See you on the next tee.